Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation on errors in dynamometer type instruments along with the advantages and disadvantages of dynamometer type instruments. Before going into the presentation further, let us discuss about the prerequisites of the presentation. That means before getting into the subject, these are topics which you might have already been aware of. So those are construction and working of electrodynamometer type wattmeter. Let us have a recap of the same topics again. So an electrodynamometer type instrument will have two coils as shown in the figure. We have a figure here. This figure represents different parts of electrodynamic instrument. Here you can see we have two fixed coils A and B. A and B are fixed coils, and we have another coil which is moving coil C. There will be a magnetic field produced by A and B, so they are spaced so that the magnetic field between them is uniform, and they are spaced in such a manner that there will be space of this moving coil to move. So we'll have a shaft placed here, spindle which we call placed here, on which moving coil is attached. And we have already seen that this fixed coil is connected in series with the other fixed coil, and we have a moving coil. If you want to increase the rating of the machine, fixed coils may also be connected in parallel. Now, the deflecting torque of the pointer is given as, the instantaneous deflection is given as Ti, which is equals to I1, I2, dm by d theta. So what is I1? I1 is instantaneous current flowing in fixed coil, and I2 is instantaneous current flowing through the moving coil, and M here is mutual inductance between the fixed coil and the moving coil. So the mutual inductance between fixed coil and moving coil is M, and theta is angle of deflection of the pointer. So this is how we have deflecting torque given as I1, I2, dm by d theta. If we had this meter connected to DC to measure DC quantities, then the deflecting torque is proportional to the current through fixed coil into current through moving coil. If they are connected to AC, it means when we connect the dynamometer type instrument to measure AC quantity, then the deflecting torque is equals to I1, I2 cos phi dm by d theta. Here I1 is current through fixed coil, I2 is current through moving coil, cos phi. Cos phi is cos of phase angle. This is the phase angle between I1 and I2 quantities. So I'll come again once here. The deflecting torque of sinusoidal supply, if the supply is sinusoidal, if you are trying to measure a sinusoidal quantity, the deflecting torque is given by I1, I2 cos phi. These are magnitudes of the currents. That is why they are written in capitals. If you check here, they are written in small, which means they are instantaneous values. and here they are magnitudes, and I1, I2, cos of phase angle difference between I1 and I2 into dm by d theta. So that means we can just directly write TD is proportional to I1, I2 cos phi. So after listening to this, we will also just see the fixed coil is connected between M and L. The moving coil is connected between C and D. So let us have a revision on the connection of these coils when you want our electrodynamic instrument to work as an ammeter. To work as an ammeter, what we do is the fixed coil and the moving coil are connected in series. You can see here, this is the circuit diagram. We have this fixed coil A, here the fixed coil B, and if you see the circuit, the current should be flowing through A first and then B, and then you can see that it is flowing through the pressure coil and it is going through the load. Because the pressure coil is made by thin wire, it is made by generally thin wire compared to the fixed coil. So it cannot have much capability of carrying current. Why? Because there is another reason that the spindle is attached, this pressure coil is attached to a moving system. Because it is a moving system, we'll have spring control torque. So springs will be leading current to the coil, and there will be a joint between the spring and also the coil, and the spring will be light and thin that it cannot carry, it is not capable of carrying high currents, and hence we cannot allow high currents to flow through the pressure coil. So this is what we call as moving coil, and hence what we do is we connect a shunt here. This shunt will try to limit the current through the moving coil. Hence we can say that the fixed coil and the moving coil are connected in series with the help of shunt. Shunt simply limits the current through the moving coil, and hence we have connected it to load. So this meter, if we check the deflection formula, so TD is equals to I1 I2 dm by d theta is what we have discussed. So at the equilibrium, the deflecting torque is equals to spring control torque. Spring control torque is given by K into theta. So from there, theta is equals to I1 I2 dm by d theta by K. Similarly, for sinusoidal inputs, we'll be having the deflection angle as I1 I2 by K into cos of phase angle difference between I1 and I2 into dm by d theta. Now coming to this ammeter, we have current I1 is I, current I2 is also proportional to I, where I is the input current which we want to measure, or the load current which we want to measure. So here, let me write it here. For this, we have I1 proportional to input current. I2 is also proportional to input current. So we can have angle of deflection proportional to I into I cos phi. Here, because same current is flowing through both, we can cancel out this cos phi. So we can write it as I and I. As phi is considered as 0 because same current is flowing through the coil. Now here I can write that theta is proportional to I square. Angle of deflection for electrodynamic ammeter is proportional to I square. Hence, this ammeter will measure the RMS value of the current. The scale will be not uniform, non-uniform scale. And as we know that the damping is provided by air friction damping and the control is provided by spring control. Now let us go to the next slide. Here we are going to have a revision on electrodynamic voltmeter. The electrodynamic voltmeter has connection as shown in the figure here. Here if you see, because the voltmeter is to be connected in parallel to the load. If we just cross check again the ammeter connection, now this meter is working as ammeter and hence it is connected in series with the load. It's shown in the figure that this ammeter is connected in series with the load. Now ammeters, we have to connect ammeter in series with the load in order to measure the load current. Coming to the load voltage, we want to measure the load voltage, we use voltmeters and those voltmeters are to be connected in parallel to the load. Then only the load voltage will be equals to the voltage across the meter. So here we have the meter and we have to connect the meter in parallel. So this is our meter. So here we have a junction. This is our load. Here is our supply. Supply is connected to the load. Now I want to measure the load voltage. So I'll be connecting meter between these two lines. So across these 2 points I have to connect. So one I had, here we can see the junction. So from junction we have given it to one terminal of the meter and other terminal of the meter to another terminal of the load. So you can see from one terminal of the load, one terminal of the meter, another terminal of the load, another terminal of the meter. So we can clearly say that the meter is connected in parallel to the load. The electrodynamic instrument can be used as a voltmeter by connecting a large non-inductive resistance R of low temperature coefficient in series with the instrument coil as shown. Here we have all the coils, current fixed coil A, fixed coil B, and moving coil C, all are connected in series, but we have another element that is connected in series with these coils, that is R. This R is non-inductive resistance and it should be having high value. So this is a large resistance. So when it is a large resistance, here actually the supply is supposed to supply the load and meter is just supposed to work as a device to measure the load voltage. But the meter should not act like a load. Hence, the meter, because it is connected in parallel with the load, it should not consume large amounts of current. If it is doing so, then the load current will be affected. The usage or the basic purpose of the meter will be lost. Hence, we can see that there is large resistance connected in series with the coils. So, small amount will flow through the meter, which will not affect to large extent to the load current. So when I is the expected load current that is coming out of the source E, very small, some milliamperes will be flowing through the meter. Hence, the load current is changing from instead of I to I minus some milliamperes. So it is not much affected. Like if it is load current is say 5 amperes and say 0.02 milliamperes or 0.05 milliamperes is current flowing through the voltmeter, then the residual current that is flowing through the load would be 5 minus 0.05 milliamperes. So it is going to be 4.9999 something, which will not change the load current to large extent. Now, here the one more thing is we need to have another important property of this resistance is non-inductive. That is very important, and it should have low coefficient in resistance. Low coefficient. So why low coefficient, temperature coefficient is because even though there are small amounts of currents flowing through it, R value is large. So I square R, which is copper loss, so that may be more, which will try to convert the energy form from electrical energy to thermal energy. That means we have every possibility of generation of temperature here. If temperature increases to large extent, then the coil resistances will change. Hence, the instrument will be sensitive. So it is error prone. So in order to reduce that, we use temperature coefficient, low temperature coefficient of the material used for this resistance. Hence, now let us see what happens. The current flowing through the fixed coils and the moving coil is very small, such that we have seen that the deflection is proportional to I1, I2, dm by d theta. I can remove this dm by d theta, so I'll just say that theta is proportional to I1 and I2. Now here, because all are connected in series and very small amount of current is flowing through it, I can write that this current which is flowing through the coil is equals to I2, or say it is equals to small I, and this meter Im I'll say, and this meter current is proportional to the voltage across the meter. And what is the voltage across the meter? Voltage across the meter is same as voltage across the load, which means I can replace this proportionality. Instead of I1, I will write Vm. Instead of I2, I will write Vm. Hence, I can write that deflection is proportional to Vm square. Even for AC, we'll have no phase difference. So the flux phi between the current through fixed coil and current through moving coil, it is equals to 0. So cos phi, it will be 1. So it will not make much difference here. Whether AC or DC, it is going to show the same. That is the reason why electrodynamometer type instrument is also called as transfer type instrument. Without changing the calibration here, we can use the same meter for measurement of AC as well as for DC. So hope you are clear with this connection and how it is made. So when we connect a large resistance here, the current through the coil is going to be very small, and the current through the coil is now judged by the voltage across the coil, which is voltage across the load, or else it is same as the voltage source voltage E. In our case, in our circuit taken here. I hope it is clear. If you want to write down, I'll give you few seconds. You can write it down. Okay. Now we'll go for dynamo electrodynamometer type wattmeter. The electrodynamic wattmeter consists of two coils A and B placed symmetrical to each other and producing uniform magnetic field. They are connected in series with the load and hence called as current coil. So here how we connect these coils is very important. You can see that Sup- we have supply here, we have load here. Now, for the supply current to reach the load current, let us just trace the path of the current. So it is starting from supply, it's going through some fixed coil here, and then it is going to another fixed coil, and then it is going through the load. Here actually we have a junction. Let us see what happens, but it is flowing through the load. It clearly states that these coils are connected in series with the load. And let us see how is this pressure coil connected. Now, actually, we haven't discussed about the current split here. I just said that these coils are in series with the load. So why? Let me give the reason. At this junction, the current is supposed to split, but the current that is flowing through the pressure coil is very, very small. Why? First reason is the pressure coil, this is moving coil here. In case of dynamic wattmeter, we call it as a pressure coil. The reason being these wires with which the moving coil is made up of is a very thin or fine wire. Fine wire, it indicates that it will carry very less current. Why? Because it is going to have high resistance. Apart from that, we have a RV series resistance. It is high non-inductive resistance connected. So we have seen in the earlier case of electrodynamic voltmeter that when we have connected RV, high resistance, which is non-inductive in series with the coil, it is carrying very small current, and that current is not proportional to load current, but it is proportional to the load voltage. And hence you can see that very small amounts of current flow through this branch. Hence, I can neglect the current. Hence, I said that the current through the coils which are fixed is same as current through the load. And hence, the coils here, A and B, the fixed coils, are named as current coil in wattmeter. And the coil that is moving, because it is having currents which is proportional to the voltage, it is called as potential coil, or else it can be called as pressure coil. Now, here we will discuss about the after completion of uh, the circuit. We have understood the circuit here. We have understood how we are connecting. We see that pressure coil is connected parallel to the load, and current coils are connected series with the load, and pressure coil branch is having very high resistance. Current coil branch should be having very low resistance. That's the current coil is made up of thick wires. Pressure coil is made up of thin wires. Let us see how the angle of deflection going to be. So as we know that this here we have already, this is instantaneous deflection which is proportional to current through the load and also current through the pressure coil. So we have the current through current coil, which is I small f. It is proportional to the load current I, and current through the pressure coil IM. It is proportional to the voltage. So I'll show what is IF and IM in the circuit. This is IF and this is IM. IM is very small, that it is proportional to the voltage, and IF is equals to the load current directly. Hence, now if we try to write the deflection torque, it is directly proportional to, instead of IF, I write I, instead of IM, I write P. So it is directly proportional to V into I, instantaneous values. Hence, it is directly proportional to instantaneous value of the power. Now we can have, for sinusoidal, we can have TD proportional to V I cos phi. So this V instead of I1, so I2, this I instead of I1 and cos phi, and phi is phase angle difference between V and I. So this is how we get power measured by the instrument here. So I'll just draw the extent of the instrument here. Our instrument starts from here to here. So we are going to have four terminals of the instrument. So one is two terminals of so here one, there is another one, here is another one, there should be another one of pressure coil. So it is going to be, for this, here we have M, this is L, this is common, and this is V for this connection. So we have two terminals as M and L and two terminals as C and V. We short MC each time we want to measure the single phase power, and then L is connected to load or supply side, MC is connected. We can interchange these two and we have V connected this manner. Now, after understanding this slide clearly, let us quickly run through different errors and then advantages. The reason behind, again, having thorough revision of these three types of meters connections is they make understanding the errors and advantages, disadvantages better. Let us go to the next slide. Common errors in electrodynamic or dynamometer type instruments. So first reason is the electrodynamometer type is going to have low torque to weight ratio. For the rotor to rotate without vibrations and having a stable operation, we need to have high torque to weight ratio. But here, the dynamometer type instrument is going to have low torque to weight ratio, which will give rise to errors. And the other one is frequency error. With the change of frequency, we have errors arising in the meter, and we can have eddy currents flowing because for AC measurements we can have changing flux cut by any conductor material that is there in the meter, and thus we have eddy currents flowing through it, and that may cause errors in the device. Stray magnetic field errors. So if we use the meters nearby any magnetic field, now if because the field is weak and if it gets affected, then errors are aroused. That is what we call as stray magnetic field errors. And then we have temperature errors. Why? Because the materials that are used for coil is made up of copper, but the length of the coil material is very high, so we cannot ignore the copper resistance in the instrument end, because of which we can have I square R loss that gives rise to heat production, and that means temperature rise, and because of that we can have errors. We'll see into all these errors in detail in further slides. Coming to the low torque to weight ratio error, the magnetic field produced by the instrument, let me show the pointer. The magnetic field produced by the instrument is very weak. Why weak? It is around 0.002 to 0.005 Weber per meter square. Very small. What the reason behind it is, we are just using a coil and we are giving very less current to the coil for measure for production of magnetic field. Hence the magnetic field, it's an electromagnetic field. So that is the reason why the instrument have a very weak magnetic field, because the coil used in the instrument are air core. We do not use metal core for the moving system or the fixed system. For the fixed coil we go for ceramic. Even for moving coil we have it as an air core. The large number of turns are required to produce the required torque. So the moving coil will be having large number of turns. In order to increase the torque, though the field is very weak, in order to increase the torque, we are using large number of turns. So to provide required torque for deflection of the pointer. That means we have torque is very less, weight is very high. So torque to weight ratio of the whole system is very less. So large number of turns makes heavy moving system. Due to this, torque to weight ratio is very low. This is a error. Because of a less torque to weight ratio, we can have errors, and that is the reason why we have a bit errors due to low torque to weight ratio in a dynamometer type instrument. Coming to the frequency error, why does frequency error occur? When frequency changes for AC system, when we are trying to measure alternating quantity using dynamometer type instrument, where we have around 3 coils, 2 fixed coil and 1 moving coil, then we can see that they will have inductances also. We have seen in our previous video lecture L1, L2 and M. Now because there is change in frequency, omega L, which is the reactance will of the coils will be changing. When reactance of the coils are changing, that means the impedance of the operating coils is changing. So because frequency is changing, the impedance of the operating coil is changing. That means change in magnitude of eddy currents set up in the metal parts of the instrument near to operating portion. So when that frequency is changing, the eddy currents that are set up, that will also get changed. Hence then we'll have errors in the system. So the other error that we are going to see is eddy current error. So eddy currents are induced in the metal parts of the instrument. Induced eddy current will produce some torque. So we have seen because of frequency errors, there are some eddy current errors produced. Then because of eddy current errors, what is going to happen is, because of eddy currents, some torque is produced there. So that torque which is produced will try to oppose the source causing it. Hence, there will be some error produced because the deflection is changed. Because deflection is causing change in a magnetic field, so it will try to oppose. So because of eddy current errors, we'll have some torque which will be altering the deflecting torque, and hence there is some error produced. In order to reduce these eddy current errors, what we do is we will try to reduce the metal parts. So how? By keeping the metal in the support of the coils and other structural parts to the minimum possible extent. So we are going to reduce the metal parts there. That means we are not going to have core for the fixed coils, or we are not going to have metal core for the moving coil. So why do we use ceramics if we require the support system? We use ceramics. That means we are reducing the metal parts in order to reduce the eddy currents. If eddy current error is reduced, so frequency error can also be reduced by maintaining the L by R constant. Inductance or reactance to resistance ratio of the coils same as shunt there. If you use shunt material, we have to maintain it same. So by doing so, we can try to reduce the frequency errors. We have seen the same in the previous video lecture also. Now coming to the stray magnetic field errors, that means the errors that are caused by external magnetic field. The operating field in the instrument is weak because of air-cored coils. The operating field is very much affected by external magnetic fields. Because it is weak, it can easily be affected by external magnetic fields. Hence, the instrument is protected from external magnetic fields by metal shields. So for the casing, for the case of the PM electrodynamometer type um, instrument, we should have a metal lining so that the magnetic lines of force will, of the external magnetic lines of force will not enter into the inside the metal, and then we alter the magnetic field which is already weak produced between the coils. The next one is temperature errors. High currents carried by the coils will raise their temperature. This will occur especially when we use um, a dynamometer type instrument for wattmeter. This temperature will get increased morely at pressure coil, and if you want to use the instrument as a voltmeter where we place a high resistance low inductive resistance in series with the coils, there also, because sorry, not for the pressure coil. Pressure coil, it will be having high resistance. For current coils, they will be having low resistance. So when high currents are flowing in the coils, then we'll have more temperature rise. The temperature rise will be high in the moving coil compared to the fixed coils. Now, because of that increase in temperature, the copper material with which the coils are made up of will exhibit different resistance property now. And because of that difference, torque produced will be different, magnetic field produced will be different, torque produced will be different, hence the deflection is going to get changed. In order to in order to, hence the impedance produced will produce some error. When R is changing, change in impedance will be there. When impedance is changing, then we'll have different currents flowing compared to a normal condition. Then because of different currents, that means because of different I1 and I2, deflecting torque will automatically change, and hence pointer will not show the same value which it used to show in normal conditions. Hence, what we have to do to neutralize this temperature error? To neutralize this temperature error, what we do is we use compensating resistors. These compensating resistors will try to maintain same resistance of the circuit, thus the impedance is not changed. Though the temperature might rise, if the temperature is rising, the resistance of the coils will get reduced a bit, but because of presence of the compensating resistors, the overall resistance or of the circuit will not get changed. That means the overall impedance of the circuit will not get changed. Hence, we can reduce the change in impedance, and hence we can reduce the temperature error. So the temperature error is neutralized by the temperature compensating resistors. Now, after looking into different errors that may occur in dynamometer type instrument and discussing about the remedies of that same, let us look into advantages and disadvantages of the dynamometer type instrument. Advantages of dynamometer type instruments are: these instruments are free from hysteresis loss and eddy current loss. We have discussed the eddy current error may occur with presence of metal parts in the instrument, and hence what we did is we replaced metal with ceramic. By doing so, we have reduced not only eddy current loss but also hysteresis loss. These losses come into picture a lot when AC currents are flowing in the device instrument. When AC current is flowing in the instrument, there will be molecular magnet reversal because the conduct coils will be carrying alternating currents. The magnetic field will also get reversed and then frequently, and because of that we'll have hysteresis loss. And because we don't have any um, metal part, so we cannot have hysteresis loss at all and also eddy current loss at all. Hence, these instruments are free from hysteresis and eddy current loss. They have precision grade accuracy because losses are very less. They come under precision grade accuracy. That means how many times we try to measure, the reading is going to be the same. It can be used to measure power to a great accuracy. Dynamometer type wattmeters are very popular. They work with great accuracy. The measurement of voltage and current range is independently controllable, and the readings of power can be ascertained with a multiplier. If we look into wattmeters, we can have different ranges for voltages separately and different ranges for current separately. We have seen that voltage pressure is proportional. Now the current through pressure coil is proportional to the voltage, and then we place a high non-inductive resistance in series with the coil. At that time we can have different uh, you know um, tap positions of the resistance. That means we can have different voltage range extensions there. Similarly, for the current range, we'll place shunt coil, and then we can have different current ranges for the instrument separately. So we can have different voltage ranges separately, different current ranges separately. And this is possible only for dynamometer type wattmeter. Let me draw quickly the dynamometer type wattmeter. Suppose you have here the dynamometer type wattmeter, and there you have readings. You see, here you have scale and here you have pointer. Now here we can have different terminals for currents. Say 10 ampere, 50 ampere, okay, 5 ampere. So we can have separate change, we can change the current ranges separately, and we can also change the voltage ranges separately. Like you can have 20 volt, 50 volt, I should write 25 volt, 50 volt and 100 volt. So we can have separate ranges for voltages and separate ranges for currents. This happens only for wattmeter. And once we take reading of the pointer, say we get some value x, so the total power, actual power, actual measured power would be the scale indicated value into the multiplication factor. That multiplication factor we have to calculate by selecting which range, and by selecting which range of current and voltage, we'll get the multiplication factor. Hence, we have to simply multiply the multiplication factor. So this facility is a very good advantage. We can use the same meter for different ranges of power, voltage, and also current. And the scale of dynamometer type wattmeter is uniform up to certain level. Though when we use the dynamometer type instrument for ammeter and voltmeter, we have seen that it measures the RMS value, but the deflection angle is proportional to square of the quantity, and hence the scale is not uniform for those cases. But coming to the power measurement, when we design it for a wattmeter, then we have seen that the angle of deflection is proportional to the power, and hence we don't have power square there. That means we can have, for spring control, we can have a uniform scale for dynamometer type wattmeter, but that is also for certain limit we can have a uniform scale. This is also a very good advantage of dynamometer type instrument. Coming to the disadvantages, the torque produced is small because currents flowing through the coils are less, magnetic field produced is less, hence the torque produced will be small. And the magnitude of current is limited by carrying capacity of the spring control. This is what we have seen. For the pressure coil, it is made up of thin wire. The reason behind it is, anyways, the pressure coil or the moving coil is to be connected to the spring for current leading into the moving system, and the current carrying capacity of this control spring will be less. Hence, it limits the magnitude of current through the moving coil. The screening is required to avoid stray magnetic fields. So we require screening because compared to other instruments we have discussed so far, which is PMMC and moving iron, the magnetic field produced inside the dynamometer type is very, very weak, that it is very subtle to get affected by external magnetic fields. So we have to provide screening in the case. Now they have low sensitivity due to low torque to weight ratio. So we have discussed this. So this measuring instrument will have low sensitivity. That means it cannot sense small change in the quantity which you are trying to measure. The reason behind it is low torque to weight ratio. This will give a rise to torque to weight ratio errors that we have discussed earlier in this presentation. And then we have seen power consumption is comparably high because of their construction. So the power consumed by dynamometer type instrument is very high, comparable to same range MI instrument or PMMC instrument. Some more disadvantages is we have uniform and non-uniform scales. Non-uniform scale for voltmeter and wattmeter, and they are sensitive to overload and mechanical impacts because we have coil moving. We cannot handle dynamometer type instrument in a robust, rough manner. So they are not robust, they are sensitive. They are more expensive compared to MI and MC instruments. Hence, we have seen common errors and remedies in dynamometer type instruments. After completion of this whole presentation, student must be able to list out common errors and remedies in dynamometer type instrument, and also write advantages of dynamometer type instrument, and also to write the disadvantages of dynamometer type instrument. Hope you are clear with the presentation. Thank you.